Hello guys, Jumbo here and welcome to Arms Warrior Macros for Cataclysm. Right, before we get into anything else, what I'm going to do is show you how to actually open the macros and how to make a macro very quickly. Normally on the left hand side of your screen, you'd have a button which you could select. Mine has vanished. So what I'm going to do is /macro and hit enter and our macro window pops up. As you can see, I've got a few for different classes and stuff. We won't worry about that. If you hit new, you'll get a new pop-up window. In this top one, you can put a name if you wish to, and then when you hover over it, it'll say the ability or the name that you put there, but we're going to leave it blank. Just press spacebar one time, and on this bottom icon, you can select any of these icons to have as your picture. So you could, for example, have every single one of your abilities as a red skull. But for this example, I'm going to leave it as a question mark. I'm going to hit OK. In this section here, we're going to put #show tool tip. Now what this does is it actually shows the ability that you've chosen as your number one top ability, or if you have a shift modifier macro, it will show for both of them. It will also show the cooldowns. I believe I've already said that in the future, but don't worry about it. In this case, we're going to just type Rend, and when we hit save, as you can see, it shows the ability Rend. So you can have any ability showing there. If I clear it again and hit save, it's now back to that. So now we'll press /cast. Cast means it's ability out of your spell book. So now we'll type Rend again. And if I hit save, we're back to Rend. If we wanted to use an item like a flask, a potion, or a trinket, you'd then put /use. Then you'd put the name of the actual item into that slot. That is it. And then once you're finished, you'd hit save, and that's it, done and dusted. Anyway, back to the video that I've already edited and just forgot this bit and stuck it in here now. Magic. So the first macro we're going to take a look at is charge. Now in my charge macro, I have charge, Rend, battle stance, and cancelaura bladestorm. As you can see, this is how the macro looks. And what it'll do is it will charge when you're at a range. It will rend if you're near the target. If you're in the wrong stance, it'll put you into battle stance. And if you're bladestorming, it will cancel it. Next macro is spell reflection. As you can see, I have two equips. One is for main hand, one is for shield, followed by spell reflection itself. And the reason why you do it in that order is because you need to have those items equipped first. You will have to double press this macro for it to enable. And now we have our one-shot macro. So this has Recklessness, Deadly Calm, Inner Rage, use 13, use 14. All three of your cooldowns combined together. They don't all proc at once. They will stagger. And use 13 and 14 are for your trinkets. So if you have an unused trinket, you'd press this and it would activate. Now, this macro is a bit of an interesting one. So it's a shift modifier for Will to Survive and Heroic Leap. So as it stands, it's just Heroic Leap, but if you hold down shift, it becomes your every man for himself trinket. This macro and the next one are very good for stance switching, opposed to stance dancing. This one here, I have cast defensive stance followed by equip of your main hand and shield, showing the tooltip for defensive stance. And this is the other half of that macro, where it says show tooltip, cast battle stance, and then equip your two-handed main weapon. This is a useful PvP macro. It is a disarm one, so show tooltip disarm. Then it's cast defensive stance, cast disarm, cast battle stance. And what it'll do is it'll switch your stance, apply disarm, and when you press it again, it should put you back into battle stance. Now we get into the stance dancing macros. So for this, you'll have, as you can see, #show tooltip mortal strike, but in your cast, it'll actually be Berserker Stance. Now you'll put this into battle stance where your mortal strike is. so that when you press it, it will switch you to Berserker Stance. And in Berserker Stance, in that same icon section, you will have Mortal Strike, and then you'll apply it. This works for Mortal Strike, Slam, Colossal Smash, and you would have the reverse for Overpower. So in Berserker Stance, you'd have a macro saying, as I'll bring it up on screen now, show tooltip, Overpower, and under the cast, it'll say Battle Stance. And you'll have that on your Berserker bar in place of where your Overpower is, which will then switch you across to Battle Stance to apply your Overpower. And this is the final macro that I have. It is a shift modifier for Cleave and Heroic Strike. As it stands, without pressing anything, it's sat on Heroic Strike. When you press shift, it will switch it to Cleave. It just means that it keeps your action bar nice and clear, and you don't have to have too many buttons down on there. You're not going to be cleaving and heroic striking at the same time. This is why I've got this set that way.